Hey, what's coolin'? What's going on, you guys? I hope you're having a really good day. And got some more rough news in the NFL. Last week we lost Nick Mangold, and now we lost Marshawn Nealand at 24 years old too. It's really tough, and that goes back to the whole thing of you got to really enjoy life, and no matter what, be the best person you can be. Life is crazy for sure, and obviously, if you're losing a loved one or friend or even a stranger, it's just never easy to see that around you. It's heartbreaking in so many different ways. So definitely wish the best for Marshawn and family and all those sort of things. And with that, it's going what they're going through right now. Obviously, I didn't know Marshawn, but it's just never easy to see somebody passing away like that, and all those things that happen. And it's just life, man. That's it's the hard part about it. Life's beautiful, but it's also can be really, really tough at times too. So definitely wishing the best out there. And yeah, so certainly just got to keep those things in mind and always enjoy life the best you can. So we got a mock draft to go over today, and we're gonna bring it, and definitely gonna 94 shout out to dedication here and all the people that are losing some loved ones right now. It's you just got again, it's so tough. So let's get into this mock draft here and how the Jets can improve. A frantic trade deadline it was for sure. And when you look at this draft as a whole and what teams are going to be trying to do, such as the Jets, when you're picking up at the top of the draft, and wow, I didn't expect this one at all. Arvell Reese, offensive or defensive extraordinaire, however you want to position him, because he's got so many different abilities to play on the field, whether it's off the edge, at linebacker, he can drop into coverage. And as a Jets fan, I love this pick so much. Arvell Reese, and this is not one you're going to see really out there, but Arvell Reese would be such a big impact on this defense after losing Quinn Williams and Sauce Gardner. I wouldn't rule this out completely because this team needs serious help on the defense side of the ball going forward. And Arvell Reese can be that jackhammer, Micah Parsons level of player for this football team that can do a little bit of everything. Not to mention, we need more pass rush too. So between what he can do off the edge and at linebacker, we have spots to fill in both of those categories. Great pick. I love that actually for the Jets. I really do. I'm not going to lie. I think that's a really good pick. Anyway, Arvell Reese, he's freaking good. Yeah, he is freaking good. He's a weapon, no doubt about it. You see him coming off the edge here, that dip under the tackle over there under Drew Shelton. It's so impressive. Titans, Ruben Bain Jr., edge rush from Miami. This would be a great pick for them. They need edge talent, and they also could use a wide receiver. It really just comes down to getting one of those guys, right? Whether it's Jordan Tyson, a Carnell Tate, Mekhi Lemon, Ruben Bain, if they wanted to trade back and go grab one of those wide receivers, that would be a really good move too. Ruben Bain would be a phenomenal pick. Certainly a move that would help out that defense a lot, which just doesn't get a whole ton of pressure on the quarterback. Stafford had way too much time this week, and that's something that they definitely need to improve. On it to the Saints here. They go Keldrick Falk, defensive line from Auburn. Okay, here's my view on this one. I would probably lean towards going one of these wide receivers at this point, especially with Rashid Shaheed now gone and traded. Shaheed is such a good wide receiver too, man. I was watching some routes he was running this week. Oh my gosh. He was making some DBs over there for the Rams look silly. He is such a good football player. Now, though, when you get Keldrick Falk, I'm just not this high on Falk. I think he's more of like a 10 to 15 type of player. I really like him. I think he's going to be a good football player. Overall, it's one where I just think that there are probably some other options that I would go at the moment. Quarterback will still continue to watch out for. This team needs a lot of help on their roster in general. I don't know if I see it with Shuck at the moment. I'll just be real. I mean, it was an up and down game. It wasn't all on Shuck. I thought the pressure he had to deal with too in the game was pretty rough, and they couldn't get a run game going, and that's another separate argument, in which goes into their offensive of their line. And then running back, I think Kamara at this point, they may want to start thinking about the future there and getting another lead back into that room. I don't know. That's just kind of, one of those picks where I'd be sliding a little bit on. I'd rather go with one of those receivers, especially if you're going to want to see what you have in Tyler Shook. On to the Giants. They go Spencer Fanu, the offensive tackle, right tackle at Utah. And they have had some injuries, of course, and Bo's had to step up at that right tackle position. He even had to play left tackle for Thomas earlier in the season. I think Bo is a very interesting guy if he can get stronger. That could potentially play out there, but he just loses the outside shoulder one too often. Fanu's better at something like that. He's going to be a better pass protector. Now, Fanu's not the strongest guy either. There are actually some similar traits there with Fanu and Bo. So, yeah, I mean, I do think Fanu would be an upgrade for sure. However, it comes down to, do I think Fanu's a number 4 over guy? I don't know. I personally am higher on Francis Mauigoa. Even if you see Mauigoa, which a lot of people out there say Mauigoa is going to be more of a guard, I get it. I mean, he doesn't have the craziest athleticism. He's not the greatest redirector. So some guys who are faster, twitchier, he's going to struggle with guys like that. I still would say try him at right tackle first before you move him inside. But Mauigoa is going to be a guy that I feel very confident, whether it's at guard or at right tackle, he's going to be a really good football player. Fanu still kind of teetering on. I actually like Lomu better. I'll be real. I like Lomu a little bit better. I understand why he would go Fanu, though, for that right side of the offensive line. So that'd be my one nitpick here. I would pick one of those wide receivers over Fanu. That's my idea on that. With Jordan Tyson or Carnell Tate, Mekhi Lemon with Malik Neighbors. Yeah, I like that a lot. That'd be pretty sweet. On to the Dolphins. They go Caleb Downs, safety from the Ohio State University. They need some secondary help. There's no doubt about it. That whether it's cornerback, like a Mansour Delane, Jamon McCoy. I mean, I guess you could trade down in that case scenario if you want to go after McCoy with the injuries. You wonder where he'll end up going. Hey, there's so many different areas this team could go. They could go wide receiver. They could go offensive line. You name it, right? There's almost any position this team could really go after in the draft. I wouldn't exclude them. I would just say you go BPA. I wouldn't go quarterback. That's my opinion. I just think there's so many other needs that this football team needs to address. And I can't put all the blame on Tua. I really can't. I think the wide receivers continue to drop the ball. Turnovers have been happening then. Their defense is not the greatest, obviously. So there's just so many things that they need to improve upon before I start making that evaluation on quarterback. Speaking of quarterback, here's the first quarterback off the board in this draft, and it's the Raiders. Very interesting here at number 6. Raiders certainly could be looking at quarterback in this draft. It would not shock me at all. Geno, he still is, he's probably not going to be the long-term option. Let's just be real. And when it comes down to, does this team draft a quarterback in the first round? I think it's going to come down to if they're really high from like Pete Carroll. Is he high on one of these quarterbacks? They're going to draft a quarterback. I would be shocked if they did not draft a quarterback within the first 3 rounds. Now, whether it's a first-round pick, I don't know, because Pete Carroll might say, hey, look, we can go after in the second, third round. I'm going to develop a guy behind Geno Smith who can be our bridge quarterback for the next season as we continue to build this roster, because they also have plenty of holes, whether it's maybe more secondary help, even though Isaiah Pullman had his best week of the season, in my opinion. Devin White maybe gets re-signed a little bit, even, avoid some of the costly mistakes and penalties and stuff like that. Their interior defensive line, Adam Butler has been playing really, really well, so you got somebody there. They need more edge talent besides Max Crosby. Their offensive line needs to have some continued improvement. They actually played pretty well this week. Their offensive line wasn't too bad. I thought that they had one of their better games as a whole. And then wide receiver, they could use an outside guy, even though Brock Bowers is a super weapon. Oh my gosh, Brock Bowers is so freaking explosive. It's unbelievable. And he made some incredible catches this week too. Genty's unbelievable. So I don't mind Mendoza. I really don't. I think Mendoza is a great football player. Just wonder about, what they want to do here with some other areas. And they've got a lot of cap space to fill some of these things. I don't mind them going quarterback, though. I really don't. On to the Bengals. Francis Mauigoa, offensive tackle here. Whether you put him at guard or right tackle, I don't care. They need offensive line. This is a great move for the Bengals. I don't really need to address this a whole ton. They need a lot of help, though, on their defense as well, like interior defensive line, safety, cornerback, you name it, linebacker could be something. Even though your hope is that Knight and Carter take a next step. I think Knight's going to be a good player. Carter still got to get stronger, but get more play strength out there, and then Knight's got to get a little bit better in coverage. On to the Ty Simpson of the Browns. Okay, they find their franchise quarterback here, hopefully, right? That's your hope. Don't trade him away, though, this time. Ty Simpson from Alabama has had a great season, and he, every time you watch the Alabama Crimson Tide, they always cut to his dad, and maybe his brother will be out there too. But Ty Simpson definitely has all the chops to be a franchise quarterback. He's athletic enough to be able to maneuver in the pocket, and he needs to continue to work on the accuracy. He's got some decision-making here and there, but for a first-year starter at Alabama, I think he's been excellent. Browns clearly need a quarterback this offseason. On to the Commanders, Jordan Tyson. I love this move for the Commanders. You bring in Tyson in here with Scary Terry. Oh, that's a lethal combination. I don't think Debo's going to be back for this football team. Luke can be that number 3 wide receiver. So overall, they've got some other needs too on defense that they're going to have to find a way to address, whether it's edge rusher, linebacker possibly of the future, safety even, corner, you name it. Their defense is going to have to get snubbed up a little bit this offseason as well, but Jordan Tyson would be a really nice weapon in there for JD. They go on here, yeah, with his body fluidity and field awareness. On to the Cardinals. They go Carnell Tate, wide receiver run going now at this point. And I think that when you look at Arizona, their football team with Jacoby Brissett now actually looks like a decent football team. And we'll continue to watch out Jacoby Brissett, how he plays down this stretch. And he may end up getting re-signed, and maybe they'll end up trading Kyler Murray. I still think that there's a good chance that they draft a quarterback at some point this offseason, whether it's a first, second, or third round draft pick. Wouldn't shock me if they draft one somewhat early. If Kyler Murray's gone, then I really think that they will draft a quarterback pretty early in this draft class. And maybe this would be a Dante Moore type of landing spot. For me personally, I love guys like Darian Mensah, Brendan Sorsby a lot too. I think those guys, dude, Mensah is like one of the most underrated quarterbacks in college football right now. I still don't hear his name talked about a whole ton. Carnell Tate, though, I like it. I think it'd be a good Ohio State Buckeye trio. And obviously, it just goes to show when you actually throw to Marvin Harrison, good things happen. On to the Cowboys. David Bailey, Texas Tech extraordinaire. And as we mentioned before, unfortunately, with Marshawn Nealon passing, maybe it might have to get some more edge depth out here. And Bailey is certainly going to give him some more pass rush out there. So you bring him into that defensive line. You got Quentin Williams out there. So that would be something to build a nice defensive line, and certainly a pick in honor, I'm sure, of Marshawn Nealon. We go on to the Houston Texans. Jeremiah Love, Air Love as I like to call him, a Notre Dame a running back who is so dynamic with the ball in his hands. And when the Houston offensive line needs some help, there's no doubt about that. They can address some of these things in free agency, possibly. I mean, the guard class in free agency, other than like David Edwards, there's a couple other guys out there. It's going to come down to what they want to do. And they could also find a guard in the second, third round. Even though this guard class in general looks a little bit tricky. We'll see. I don't know if there's anybody here, though, that I would want to take. The offensive line class in general looks a little tricky. Maybe you draft a Caden Proctor. Like, if you want the most impact in terms of run blocking, then I would go draft Caden Proctor and put him at guard. That would be something they can consider, too. But Jeremiah Love, I love this one. They need a little more explosiveness in their running back room. I think that would help out a lot, too, is adding more of a bell cow to go along with Woody Marks and the complementary skill set. Woody could be a great receiving element and, change the pace slasher with Jeremiah Love. On to the Rams here. Avion Terrell, corner from Clemson. He's had a really good season, really solid, steady corner that I think at the cornerback position, it's hard to find a floor with guys. And I think Avion Terrell has a decent floor to the point where I'm like, yeah, he's going to come in here and be a really, really solid cornerback for them. If nothing else, be like a CB2 in the league. And that's something this football team still needs to think about. Forbes is a guy that's not under contract long-term. And even at times, Kobe Durant's gotten picked on. I still like Durant, and he's got some size limitations out there. Could they use a guy like Jermon McCoy to give him a little bit more size, like a Nikhil Witherspoon type of replacement? Yeah, I could definitely see that. But Terrell is a really good football player. If you want to deal with like the injury risk sort of thing if you're a little bit out on that with McCoy, then it would make sense here with Avion Terrell too for the Rams. On to the Panthers. Peter Woods, defensive tackle from Clemson. You know what? Wouldn't that have been insane if they would have just gotten Peter Woods for the Rams under that defensive line, which is already freaking scary as it is. Colby Turner and Brady Fisk. Jeez Louise. It's a pretty insane defensive line there for that Rams team. Obviously young and verse. On to this pick, though, for the Panthers, Peter Woods. I have no problem with this one. It's just kind of BPA, and Woods is a top 10 player. So if you're just saying to yourself, we're going to take the best player on the board, this team still could fill a lot of different areas, and Peter Woods would fit one of those spots. No problem about it. Yeah, you got guys under contract like A'Shawn Robinson, but you can get off of his contract real in a quick if you needed to, if you really wanted to. Even though he's been a solid player for them. You got Shai Tuttle there, too, so once again, or is it Tim Settle? Tim Settle's for Houston, Shai Tuttle. I always get those guys confused for some reason, but yeah, anyway, Peter Woods, I don't have a problem with this one at all. Good pick for them. They've got some other maybe bigger needs on the roster, possibly, but I don't think their roster is in a bad state. I really don't. And if Bryce Young can continue to play better, he's just playing efficient football right now, and they're leaning behind Rico. On to the Jermod McCoy pick here for the Minnesota Vikings. They give themselves that big outside cornerback that they're possibly missing. That's one thing I will say in their room is they're missing somebody with a little more physical presence. They've tried with Jeff Okudah, and that hasn't really worked out. So McCoy would make sense from that perspective. And it would be easier for guys like Rodgers and Murphy to be able to cover the smaller, twitchier corners out there and allow McCoy to be more of that A.J. Brown type of cover guy if you have to go up against somebody like that, right? I just don't think Rodgers is really, or even Murphy, are suited up for guys like that. On to the Bears here. Caden Proctor. Interesting. They're going to be pulling some crispy packages out here. Ben Johnson going to get excited. He'll be his Dan Skipper early on, maybe. I don't know, but that'd be a good one. Caden Proctor, though, very raw prospect. You got some limitations here. You got to understand what you're drafting with Proctor. He's not the most, like, twitched up athlete or anything like that. Don't expect him to have a monster redirect ability. But what he does have is his monster push ability, right? And not to mention, he's super explosive an athlete. So get him on the move, get him to the second level as either, get the ball in his hands if you need him to. As I talked about before, you can line him up at fullback and he could be the fridge for this. He could be the new fridge. So that's one thing you could look at it too for this Bears football team. Now, the only thing I would say with this one is that you're basically kind of giving up on Ozzie Trapillo, I would guess, at this point. So if they really are unhappy with Ozzie Trapillo, or they just don't see it, if maybe they want to make him a swing tackle, then you could do something like that. Or if you say to yourself, look, we'll move Proctor inside eventually to guard because contracts and stuff. Joe Thuney's a little bit older. Jackson, maybe they move on from him at some point. And if you want to do something like that, I'm not against it. I would say that their defensive line could use some more help. I think their linebacking room is getting a little bit interesting. Sonny Styles would be the way I would go here personally. Just BPA-wise, I think Sonny Styles is a great football player, and that's probably the direction that I would personally look at there. On to the Ravens, TJ Parker. I can't do this one personally. I'm just not high on TJ Parker. I would even go say that DJ Parker should just come back. I wouldn't take him on day 2 even in this draft class. So TJ Parker, continue to work on developing his hands some more, being more than just kind of like a run down the chest guy. He just doesn't really have the bend either to win consistently around the corner, in my opinion. So there's that with TJ Parker. Ravens, if you're looking at pass rusher here, I'd actually rather just go Cassius Howell. See who else is still on the board here. I mean, Mateo Uiagalelei. I'd rather get Mateo Uiagalelei at this point. Defensive interior, maybe even you could take a chance. Mari Washington, maybe it's a little early, but he's got a lot of upside. I love Caleb Banks. If he was healthy, then I would say, yeah, go ahead and get Caleb Banks here. That'd be awesome. The Cleveland Browns here, and they go Chris Bell, wide receiver from LSU. Really good football player, explosive burst. That's going to be so difficult to tackle. Now, here's the thing. I would still probably lean towards Lomu since their offensive line's such a big issue. We'll see what they do in free agency. That's where I would lean, even though Bell's a really good talent. It's tough. It's a bit of a coin flip. I would lean towards the offensive line at this point, though. So that's where I'm at. Pittsburgh, they go Dante Moore, quarterback from Oregon. They got to find their franchise quarterback. Darian Mensah, Dante Moore, Brandon Sorsby. Go get one of those guys, right? I think that would be a huge pick for the Steelers. Trying to find that guy is exactly what they're going to have to do for Aaron Rodgers, possibly going into the last season of his career. Dante Moore to come in for this 30-yard strike up the seam. Watch Moore
in rhythm. End zone. City.
But a great throw right on the money over that DB. On to the 49ers, Caleb Lomu, Utah tackle. I love Lomu. I think he is a little underrated even in college football right now. And as I've said before, I think at the end of the day, I'm probably going to have him OT1 or OT2 with Francis Mauigoa. It just comes down to, do I think Mauigoa will be a tackle? Do I feel confident? Like, Lomu's a tackle. I have no question Lomu's a tackle in the NFL. He's got that redirect ability, great athleticism, and I really think he can hang up on an island, no problem. And for the Niners, hey, he'd be a great guy to have as a developmental dude. I don't even think he needs to sit for an entire season or anything like that. He can get him out there early on, let him play, figure something out. I really would say figure something out. But Lomu, I like that pick a lot for it. The Niners investing in their line for the future. On to the Bucks, Zion Young. Let's go. I love this one. Zion Young, the Missouri pass rusher. Don't be surprised if he goes in the first round. This is one where you don't see it a whole ton. I think Young is going to go earlier than what is expected. He's going to get some hype here really soon. Yes, you talk about the coin flip, the antics there, the hype, but he brings it on the football field too. That's the thing with Zion Young. He is just he's an explosive guy for his size. He's like, what, 6'5"? Well, here he is, 6'5", 260 pounds. Moves like he's 230 pounds. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, he's got some decent twitch to his game. He's not the most twitchy guy, but he definitely can turn the corner well enough. Like, he has a good rounding ability where he he can turn and get to the quarterback. So he's a dude that at this point for the Bucks, if you're looking for a pass rusher if you're not confident on a guy like Cassius Howell, you want to bet on the outlier. Zion Young definitely doesn't have any sort of those outlier traits where it's like, okay, yeah, this guy's got that size profile that teams I'm sure are going to be looking at and saying, oh yeah, that's a dude, right? So the traits are definitely there. And also the production. It's not like he's just a traits-based guy either. He's actually legit putting it together, and I could see him easily going in that spot. Here's another guy with some elite traits, Amari Washington from Oregon. The Chargers investing in somebody like Washington would be excellent. And here's my view on this is they could use another pass rusher on that interior. They got some good run defenders. Nugby is also a good player too. I think he's really emerged for them. I do think that they could look at overall like the future with this, with another pass rusher like Amari Washington, what he could be. He's the most explosive guy on that Oregon defensive line, even including guys like Mateo Uiagalelei. Amari Washington is the first guy off the line most of the times, it seems like, when I'm just watching that Oregon team. Washington is always standing out with his explosive ability. He's got to get stronger. He's just not quite there yet, but he's also a very young football player that could come back to college and be a top 10 pick next season. And speaking of Oregon, Mateo Uiagalelei, Detroit Lions, that's where they go. They get themselves some more edge talent, whether it's a center of the future. Maybe they can get Frank Ragnow back. Be pretty sweet, actually. Call up Frank. Hey, look, can you come back around week 15 or so? Give you a couple weeks to kind of get going, and then we get into the playoffs and really roll there. So something they may have to do, right? I think they're trying. Mateo Uiagalelei, edge rusher, though, would be a nice little 1-2 punch with Aiden Hutchinson. Hey, Muhammad's played really well, too, so I don't want to discount him. You need to make sure you bring him back. On to the C.J. Allen pick for Georgia linebacker. Broncos go get themselves a stud in that linebacker room. One thing I will say, Singleton's had some liabilities in coverage. Now, Allen's still a little raw in that department, but he's got the athleticism to do it. So if he can continue to make strides as a cover player, you got Dre Greenlaw, and as long as Greenlaw's healthy, which has been a question, of course, but Greenlaw can take that role more early on, and Allen can just be your chase and run linebacker. He's so good at that, at the line of scrimmage and read and diagnosing plays. Very much a dude that I see fitting at the next level at a very high floor level with CJ Allen. On to the Seahawks here and make the defense even crazier. I will say, speaking of making the defense even crazier, Cassius Howell. He would be howling off the edge. Especially if Boye Mafe does not come back in free agency. Like, I expect them to give them a franchise tag. But if they don't, and he ends up going somewhere for a big payday elsewhere, then Cassius Howell here would be really a great pick for the Seattle Seahawks. So don't mind this one at all. I love the Rashid Shaheed pickup for the Seattle Seahawks team. They got deep speed. I mean, come on. You got Jackson Smith-Njigba, Rashid Shaheed, Cooper Kupp, Torrey Horton. Ooh, it's going to be an insane team to watch this year. Cassius Howell, though, I love that pick here. Cash money in the bank.
On second and 10.
Dude is so explosive, and he's twitched up.
Rush, they got him.
I mean, well,
four guys beat
these ghost moves and stuff like that. It's incredible. Kenyon Sadiq, tight end, Oregon, and this is a mock pick that I did yesterday. This feels like cheating. Yeah, I mean, he would be an interesting one for Andy Reid in this offense. You pair him up with Noah Gray for that long-term 1-2 punch in the tight end room, because they do use two tight ends. Sadiq would be a beastly weapon for Patrick Mahomes in this offense. I like that one. I like it a lot. I think Sadiq is a fun player to watch. And in the right scheme with the right mind, he could be a big-time talent. New England, Denzel Boston from Washington. Okay. Perfect name for the New England Patriots, right? Boston to New England. Let's go. I mean, I love that one, right? I do think Boston's an interesting player. If you want to play him as like a big slot, they could do that. It comes down to this New England Patriots team where, there's a couple of different areas they could look at. Wide receiver could be one of those. Boute's played amazing this season. Diggs has been amazing this season. Hunter Henry's still solid. Could they use another weapon? Absolutely. We still need to see what Kyle Williams. Pop Douglas has also been playing really well over these past couple of weeks too. So they've got some good talent in that wide receiving room. It's going to come down to if they want to say, hey, look, Diggs, we can move on from his contract if we want to, or just thinking about it in general for the long haul. Boston, certainly an option for this football team. I'd also would consider, other positions like edge rusher here. And maybe you're not high on the next available edge rusher, which at this point, who would be the next available? That's true. They've got a good run on maybe Romello Height. So I don't know. He's more of a situational DPR early on. And I think there's a good chase they bring Chase on back. He's been their best pass rusher, in my opinion, this season. Other areas I guess you could look at, I don't know. What other some other areas they could look at really? I mean, maybe linebacker. Ellis has been pretty good of late though, so I'm not like super concerned about that. Guard. Maybe you don't want to take a guard here. Maybe Ione. I mean, actually, Vega Ione, I'd consider going him here. I think he'd be a plug and play starter at left guard, and maybe put Wilson at back at center, and on Wayne at right guard. Yeah, that'd be good too. I could see that. Dallas back on the clock here. They go Mansour Delane, cornerback from LSU. They get themselves some help in that secondary now. So they've really vamped up this defense with Mansour Delane. Obviously, now you got Quentin Williams. You got Logan Wilson in there, Mansour Delane. They just, with that first pick, they got David Bailey. That defense, man, they're going all in at this point for sure. But Delane at 28, that's a great value. Oh my gosh, that's probably the value of the draft at this point. So A+ move for the Dallas Cowboys. I think it was a great draft actually for the Dallas Cowboys. I'd be pretty happy Jerry Jones could pull that off. The Jets go Lenore Sellers at 29. Oh man, to begin with this one, I don't know. I think Lenore Sellers comes back first and foremost. I would personally go with Mensa or Sorsby, even over Sellers. Even if Sellers comes out, I would go with one of those guys over Sellers. That's just where I'm at this point. I really think Sellers needs to either hit the transfer portal or just come back to South Carolina and continue to improve, get better as a passer, get more cerebral. And I can't even say that word. It's a hard word to say. I can't even wrap my mind around that one. On to the Eagles here, and they go Quincy Rhodes Jr. This is a little bit of a surprise here. He's a big edge rusher. Well, he plays a lot like a 4-eye, 5-tech sort of role. And for the Eagles, they do need more pass rush, like clearly. And at this point in the draft, you will say that the edge talent is probably dwindling a little bit. Does he fit with exactly like their type of edge rusher? No, I don't think he's that type of mold. So he would be more of a guy you kick in a little bit for this football team. They could play in a multitude of roles here, and they do. So I'm not like super worried about it. But Rhodes reminds me a little bit like of Austin Booker in ways. He's kind of got that similar build and play style and stuff. He's a little more of an upright athlete though, and he's an explosive athlete and stuff like that. He definitely has the traits you look for. And he's got some good hand swiping ability and stuff like that. Great length. The size profile is undeniable with Quincy Rhodes. Just comes down to, is it the right scheme fit for the Eagles? Quincy Rhodes, could he come back to college and get a little bit better, get a little more technically refined? Absolutely. Put a little more production on film. That would be something I would say there with him. On to the Bills, Casey Concepcion, wide receiver from Texas A&M. Oh, add some more wide receivers in this room. Why not, right? Hey, add some speed, add some yak ability. Casey Concepcion would certainly bring that to this room even more than what they already have with Khalil Shakir. But I would still lean towards offensive line at this point. It's like a Chase Besantis, Vega Ione would be a day one, and both those guys I think would be day one starters at left guard for them if Edwards is not re-signed. You could also look at linebacker. Is Sonny Styles still on the... Actually, did Sonny Styles even come off in this draft? Oh my gosh, if he didn't, I'm going to have to double check that. But geez Louise, I would be running to the table if Sonny Styles was still here on the board. I don't remember him going. I probably am bugging. He probably did, but geez Louise, that would be insane if he's still on the board. I would go with Sonny Styles though here, or one of those guards. And that's nothing against Concepcion either. I just think that they're okay. They're receiving. I mean, I think they got enough weapons. They don't have a true number one or anything like that, but they've got a surrounding core with complementary skill sets. Rams go Isaiah World. I don't love this one. Really don't. I would definitely go other. I'd rather go with a developmental quarterback over Isaiah World at this point. Yeah, they do need a developmental right tackle. And Isaiah World would make sense like in round 3. Okay, so if they get Isaiah World in round 3 or even late round 2, then I'm okay with that. I could deal with that. Isaiah World he gets beat to too much to the edge. I think he needs to get stronger with that outside hand and just get a little more technical refined in general. So some of those things I just see too concerning with Isaiah World's film. And I am a Ducks fan, so I mean it is what it is. I mean I'm rooting for him, I really am, and I think he's a good football player. I think he could be like a Chris Paul type of, he reminds me a little bit of that. I mean, there's some differences there. He's not a 1-to-1 comparison with that, but in terms of some of the technical refinement that he needs to get to his game that I could see developing over a season, yeah, Isaiah World wouldn't shock me if at some point he's a really good tackle. I wouldn't be shocked about that at all. I just do think he's more of a year 2 guy. And Havenstein had a good week actually this week, but I think they would be looking for a right tackle day 1 at this point, unless they bring back Havenstein for another season or something like that. So I would lean towards somewhere else at this point. tackle wise, it is a little tricky on who I would take next. So I would probably look at other positions, such as maybe if you wanted to develop a quarterback, or hey, I would even consider, just ramping up the defense even more. Why not? Right? Go add some more fuel to the fire. Add a wide receiver. Why not? Right? Go add another playmaker into the room. That'd be even crazier. No, they don't need to do that. But I hope you guys have a really good day and take it easy out there.